everyone. Welcome.
Hey, everyone.
All right, let's get some checking in. Who's here? Who can hear us? Say hello. We've got Harry here to my right. Dog in the back. That's Roxy in the corner. Hello, everyone.
Hey guys, let us know where you're calling from. Would love to know where you are in the world.
Carolyn, how you doing? Been waiting for us. We're not even a minute late. I swear. Only 58 seconds, maybe. All right. Anyone else here? Check in. We're about to go to Harry. Beautiful. Thank you.
There we go. Tinker
That looks
Plan
good.
from Keep Media.
All right, everyone, welcome again to another episode. We've got Harry. Harry Roper is our original Lovable power user. He's the man. He's going to be one of the most experienced Lovable users in the world, perhaps even. Harry, do you want to give a brief overview of how you came into this?
Hey guys, so Harry Roper. I'm an enterprise consultant using Lovable every day to build product for companies big and large and small. Started off using Lovable a year ago, or a year and a half ago now, when it was open source, and it cost $1.20 to run a prompt. And my God, have we come really far since then? It's just turned into this awesome tool. So what can I say? Love building, really excited to be here. And today I'm really excited to help you finish off your apps. How do you get into like a finisher's mindset, polish your UI, and yeah, like let's get this stuff out and live.
Beautiful. All right, Harry's going to run the show here. I'm going to step in the background, ask you questions as we're going through. I'll pop them up for Harry. Thanks, everyone.
Cool. All right, guys. Might just need the screen pulled up. Thank you very much. Okay, cool, guys. So very meta, but I built this presentation in Lovable. And I guess I'm titling it The Finishing Mindset, because I imagine now with your products, you're all getting really close to the end line and thinking about how do we actually like publish our product, what should we focus on, etc. Hopefully, I can share with you a few lessons that I've learned over the last year from running my agency. And as well as that, building the first startup with Lovable that was the first one to be launched on Product Hunt. And I've got a few tips in there as well, which I think could really help out. So just a quick bit on who I am, if you missed it at the beginning. My name's Harry Roper. Here's me and my lovely team in Bariloche. We just did a recent retreat. We would say we're probably one of the top Lovable development agencies, considering we use it every day and we're very, very knowledgeable in the subject. We work with a lot of companies from government to enterprise and startups. And we've seen such really big success from using Lovable. Generated over $500,000 in revenue and grown the team from just me to 12 people in 3 months. So a really exciting time, but less about me, more about the first startup we built. So our first Lovable startup that we built that was similar to you guys was called Renamify. And it was a really simple app. It helped you scan your photos and rename them. And we built and launched this product as quickly as we could using Lovable, focusing on just the core features that would solve a unique problem. And in doing that, we managed to get top 10 on Product Hunt on our launch day. How did we do that? What did we focus on? Well, one of the things I want to try and get across today in today's lecture is the finishing mindset, how we can get a product finished and out there. Final polishing versus endless iteration, so constantly building on your product and really not launching in the end. Getting to market super fast and trying to get to market as fast as possible. And then just some lessons in general from our Product Hunt launch. So if you have any questions about some of the stuff that I'm talking about in the slides, feel free to put them in chat and I'll try and get to them after we've gone through all of this. I wanted to just show you guys like the results of us launching on Product Hunt. You can see we got a clear spike in users and it kept our traffic pretty good. We get about 200 to 300 people every week using the app, which is really cool. One of the key people that I love to think about when it comes to design and finishing your app and polishing stuff is Dieter Rams. And he has some really good principles that you can use to apply to your designs or your product in order to get it to a point where it's really easy to use and you can just focus on the simplest things. Dieter Rams says that good design is as little design as possible, less but better always, because it concentrates on the essential aspects, right? So if you have 10 buttons on your home screen, you can imagine how confusing that can be for users and knowing what to do. But if they have one button and they have one clear direction on what they need to do, whether it's to pay, take an action in some onboarding, or even interact with one of your features, it's a really good idea to just like not confuse them. Try and do as little as possible to launch. And that's our big focus, right? To launch. So how can we apply this famous designers principles to startups? Well, think of it like this. Always just strip away the unimportant. Don't focus on trying to add lots of detail. Really, what you want to do is focus on the problem that your product solves. How do you clearly communicate that to someone? And how can you make sure that they start using it straight away? You should polish what's useful to users. So a lot of the time we think, oh, I need to add a dark mode to the dashboard because I want it, or I think that I should add X feature. But in reality, it should be like what your users are telling you, the first couple of people that are using your app, and what would be useful for them to get a better outcome from using your product. The whole idea here, excuse me, is to launch with less and iterate with purpose. So if you can get the product out tomorrow and start getting feedback, you're going to be 10 times ahead of your competition because you'll be getting live data and live feedback on how to improve the features. And this is what I want you to take away the most with this finishing mindset. It's like perfection is really the enemy of shipping. We launched Renamify with like as little UI features, etc. Just making sure that we focused on solving the core problem that our user was facing, renaming photos and files, and making sure that they had a very easy time in interacting with the app, being able to do what they needed to do, and pay eventually if they wanted to as well. One of the resources that I found really useful, and I always recommend to my team and anybody that I talk to, is this this book called Refactoring UI. Here's a great example that they have in the book, and they have a bunch of these that you can use where they have one design on the left and one design on the right, and you can really simply see how the design on the right really helps people see what they need to see without overwhelming them. The design on the left uses a lot of lines. We have a much simpler design on the right. So really thinking about how can you take some just really simple principles and add them as like the final touches to your app in order to make it perfect for when you launch to Product Hunt. As I say in the slide with refactoring UI, there's some great like practical design principles that you can put into action. There's a lot of before and after examples, and it does show a lot about how you can apply Dieter Rams' principles of less is more, especially with a photo or design like this one. For us, our Product Hunt strategy was to try and get it out as fast as possible. So we gave ourselves a deadline, which was 2 weeks, which is potentially what you guys are working up to against with these live streams and Lovable shipped as well, right? Trying to build community before launching. So getting some people aware of what we're doing, getting some early feedback. I remember sharing a lot of it with the Lovable staff, asking them like, hey, what could we improve? Is there something that could be done better here to help us in a better chance of getting a lot of users and a lot of people using the product? I focused a lot on sharing that story on Twitter and YouTube, more about like the maker side of it. So how I made it, why I made it, and what are some of the decisions that we made whilst making it. Just giving like a behind the scenes as to what we're doing. And then we made sure that although we were across different time zones, me being in Buenos Aires in South America and my co-founder being in Boston, we would be able to make sure that at least somebody would see a piece of content over the 24 hours that we were launching the Product Hunt. And that would mean that we would constantly get users visiting the page and upvoting for us. The result of all of that was this really cool like top 10 ranking in Product Hunt. And we were against some like pretty crazy apps on that day, but it was really cool to build something in Lovable and be able to see that you could ship a product from 0 to 1 with this AI coding tool and launch it on Product Hunt. And this is like a little insight into that journey and why like I think finishing is so much more important than like polishing stuff. You can't really see it here in this image, but we had an email list of about 600 to 700 people. And we built this front-end UI in Lovable that would manually send the emails one by one. And I kid you not, I stayed up from midnight till 2 a.m. watching each email be sent on the front end because we had no infrastructure for sending loads of emails to an email list. And we didn't want to use MailChimp or spend money on any of these tools. So we built something in Lovable that could quickly solve the problem for us, knowing that if we got the traction, if we got the users, and we had a good success with Product Hunt and Renamify, we could build that infrastructure later. So don't ever think you have to have like all these systems set up or ever. You can do simple hacks like we did to be able to get initial traction. And as it says in the slide, like we built a targeted email list pre-launch, so that we had like around 500 to 600 people to email and say, can you upvote us on Product Hunt, so we could get that initial traction. In regards to Product Hunt and the traction that we got from it, it was around 4,500 people visiting the website, which was the initial bump we needed in order to be able to start talking to people, find out who was using our app, and find out how we can improve it as well for them. It was steady traffic to the site all day, and Product Hunt is a really good traffic source. It still sends users to us nearly every week who can try out the app and tell us how we can improve it. We did find that targeting Product Hunt users was a higher conversion than social media. It turned out that a lot of people on Twitter are willing to share and you like tell people about your story. But the main thing that we found when we launched on Product Hunt was that a lot of people on there actually want to use the apps that they're voting for and do want to try them out. So we had everyone from investors to power users to people who upload photos for a living and really found our app useful. So you'll be surprised, I think, at the different types of people who will use your app. And it's all about getting it out there as fast as you can so you can start talking to people immediately. And that's what the next slide's all about. It's about shipping first and then worry about perfecting it later. So like, as long as you have a working product, they can use the main feature of your app, you can take payment, etc. That's going to really help. And then just getting that real user feedback, rather than assuming what people want, you can talk to them directly and find out about exactly the features that would make them either a paid user or a long-term user that they would never want to leave your product. Market validation comes from usage. So one of the big things we focused on with Renamify before figuring out, are we going to keep building it, was how successful is the product hunt? How many users do we get? What are the problems that they're having? Is there a big enough pain point to invest more time into building more features into the product? Or should we find our next startup? Should we find the next idea? That's the fun part about shipping fast. You can test lots of different ideas and products until you find the one that hits and does well for you. Iteration happens faster with live data. We added heat maps and analytics to our website as soon as we launched. That really helped us understand, is our landing page converting? Are people having trouble logging in? What are people doing when they use the app? One of the resources I can really recommend is Hotjar, and also Lovable's built-in analytics as well. Both of them should give you enough coverage where you can see exactly what your users are doing and where you need to make improvements as well. As always, distribution over features seems to be like one of the biggest trends in tech and building products online at the moment. It goes to show that having a social media account and a presence on X really can help with the growth of both your startups or your own like service or freelancing. On Twitter, I just focused on taking screenshots and videos of things that were working or exciting bits of news, and then uploading that to Twitter and tagging the different technology providers that I was using. In this one, for example, you can see that I tagged Lovable, I tagged Superbase, and my hope there is that they see it, they pick up on the hype, and they then repost me and I can get a bit more coverage. So if you're using any SaaS providers, Resend, Superbase, Lovable, Cloudflare, etc., it's always worth tagging them on social media because you never know what might come for that. They could retweet you, and then you could get an extra 3,000 people seeing your post over 200, for example. The key here is distribution. So really figure out a place where you can make a lot of noise and get a lot of initial users. Focus on any channels that have already worked for you. We had an email list that was already like created, so it was really useful for us to like double down on using that. I also had a little bit of an existing audience on YouTube and Twitter, so I just posted on there and hoped that like I would get some views and some people coming to it. We added a small feedback button into our app, meaning that anytime a user had a problem or a bit of feedback that they wanted to give us, it was really easy to do so. And then we got a nice list of features that we should prioritize and figure out like what should we focus on moving forward. The marketing budget here was more about time rather than money. We spent a lot of evenings doing guerrilla marketing, just going onto subreddits, going into Discords, going on Twitter threads, replying with Renamify's link or the product hunt link, asking people to vote, and just trying to spread the story about the product that we'd made and why it was important to us and the problem that we were solving as well. In that, we got a lot of really cool insights from our early adopters. We had some great conversations where we got to talk to a lot of users, whether that was via email or a video call. We discovered a lot of unexpected use cases. For example, one of our power users primarily was a person who uploaded a lot of stock photos to the stock media websites like Shutterstock. And they were using our tool to bulk rename all of their photos so they could cleanly upload it to that stock site. And it was really interesting because it was completely the opposite kind of user that we thought we were going to attract from doing this. So again, it just goes to show, like, talking to users earlier on, trying to figure out like how you can improve the product, getting people to test it is really cool. We found our core user persona from this. We validated how much people would price and what price we could do. And then we also figured out what is our roadmap from like people's real pains and needs. So it's about shipping as fast as you can, getting feedback as early as you can, and then iterating on that so you can try and figure out where is the sweet spot of solving a real pain and being able to get paid for that as well. ChatGPT put together this quote for me, so I won't take full credit for it as I was putting these slides together a bit last minute, but I think it's a really good like overall vibe of what I'm trying to get across here for you guys as you finish up your apps. The finishing mindset isn't about perfection. It isn't about making the perfect app. It's about like knowing really when you're ready to ship and having the courage to just do it and put it out there and be like, I'm done. And I executed, and now I'm going to see what people think of it. And it's a bit brave to put something that you created out there on the web and get a load of feedback. But honestly, it's a really scary experience, but it's not. And it's really easy. And once you do it and you start getting feedback, you're going to feel amazing having pushed out your Lovable app. So key takeaways, if I can do anything for you, would be to apply design principles to your product strategy. You can easily prompt in the side of Lovable, apply Dieter's Ram's principles to my app. And I bet you it will change up the UI enough where it would build upon a couple of the things we talked about in these slides. Build distribution before you build features. So focus on minimal viable product, getting it out to market, social media, any of the platforms that you have a little bit of leverage on, Facebook groups, etc. Get it out and get people using it. Talk to users, validate with real data, add analytics, use Lovable's analytics, add Hotjar, add whatever you can that's going to tell you more about what your users are doing so you can make sure you're building the right features. Ship with confidence and iterate with purpose. This whole idea of like, you see solo developers online on Twitter, indie hackers, hundreds of thousands of dollars. All they do is they wake up every morning, they look at a list of all the things that users are, struggling with, and they try and pick the one that they think is going to have the highest leverage and be able to solve more of the pain point that their users are focusing on. Focus on finishing, not just building. It's great to build a real big app. It's great to say you ran like 1,000 prompts to get it there. But if it isn't finished at the end of this event or whenever you plan to launch, you're not going to get that feedback. You're not going to get any of those ideas. And it's going to feel a bit crap, I'll be honest. And that's why I really want to focus on this lecture of like, just get out there and start getting feedback and see what people think and finish the product. And I know you can all do it. So I believe in all of you to do that. Thank you very much. I'm going to switch over to Brenton and see if we've got any questions and any discussion. If you want to check out more about me, it's Harry Mackay Roper on Twitter and YouTube. Imaginary Space, as well as the website, if you want to go and check us out and some of the projects we built. And then if you want to see Renamify, just type in Renamify on Google and Product Hunt. You'll see both there. And I'm sure if there's any questions that come up after this, happy to answer them via Twitter as well. I think we're there, Brendan.
Yes. Howdy. All right. Just first one that's come up, a few people mentioning that they couldn't access the site, but I'm not sure which site they were referring to.
Probably they would love to get the Lovable site, so maybe I can add it for them.
Your lecture site?
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Is that the site that everyone was looking for? I saw some comments in the chat there. If anyone wants to clarify that for me, it'd be helpful. Also rename a file. Lovable. The site is down. Lovable.
Oh.
Yours is working. And wouldn't that be good? Lovable went down live on the stream. No, it's up for me. I'm not sure. Lovable
Same for me.
Down.
I think we're getting trolled, Brenton, maybe.
Yeah, we might be getting trolled.
We might be getting trolled.
All right, let's bring up some questions. There are a few questions here. So, how do you prepare for a product hunt launch, and how do you get your first upvotes?
Yeah, so just experience from us. We had like this idea that we wanted to prep our page before we launch. You can do that on Product Hunt, and it lets you create the post, and you can like set it all up when it's going to go live and stuff. That's really cool because it gives you like a pre-launch page, and you can give that to people to like sign up with their emails so they can get an alert when you're going to go live. We tied that with like an email campaign. So when we did launch, we sent a massive email to a bunch of random people. I have no idea who they were, honestly. But we knew that like they were active and that they were in tech and they might be interested in our product. So we sent them a really like low hanging fruit email, nothing too intrusive. We just said, hey, we just launched this product. It's on Product Hunt. We'd love you to check it out. Please let us know. And then we went from there. So go set up your page. It will tell you what you need in terms of a description, cover photo, logo. I would do all of those like pre-check steps before you schedule it.
Perfect. All right. Next question we have. What is your best way to get rid of errors that seem unfixable? You know, when you get trapped in that vibe coder loop of death.
Yeah, so I think the chat mode is really powerful in Lovable, and it's a really great way to get Lovable to look at like the picture in general outside of like what you're individually focusing on. And you can tell it like, hey, can you just look at what I'm trying to achieve? And then can you look at the code base? And then can you put a plan together of like what the solution might be? And it goes to show as well, right? Like if you're stuck down a rabbit hole, sometimes, and there was a good Y Combinator video on this, it's good to re-roll your vibe coding. So like re-roll your prompts. So like restore back to where it was working and then try a completely different set of prompts to like solve your solution. And don't feel like you're stuck with just one direction. There could be loads. And it's just about constantly retrying to get over that bug.
Yeah, good. People do underuse the chat mode. So good advice. Also another thing, don't be afraid to restart a project. That's probably the one. People get very attached to that project, and one of the main reasons it causes an error is you've created this original prompt with a context file of I want this, and then later on you've added on 100 features, and Lovable is still trying to go by that original context you gave it. Build me an app that displays movies, and then suddenly you want to play games in there as well. So once you've got to that point of you've tested, you've got all these ideas, all these features you want to add in, go back and rebuild it. You already know what you want at the end now. You don't have to add anything further to it now. You've already done all that testing stage. So that's my suggestion.
Exactly.
Is it possible to export the code to host on your own server? And how would you do that, Harry? I'm sure you've done that before.
Yeah, there's loads of options, right? Like you can actually publish to a domain with Lovable as well and use the built-in hosting. That's one solution. We're really big on using an app called Savala, which allows us to just like do a few more, I guess, complex things. So it depends what you're trying to build, right? Like if you want to just simple get it out, just use Lovable's hosting and a domain connection. Like you can get it out straight away. If you want to like use other hosting providers like Netlify, Savala, Kinsta, like all of these big cloud providers, they all have direct connections to GitHub. So it's really easy to just deploy your project once you're done with building it in Lovable. But yeah, use Lovable's hosting. I think it's great.
What's the book called? I think this is referring to Rita Dams.
Yeah, it was. So Refactoring UI is the book. It's by I think it's by the creators of Tailwind CSS. So I would really check it out. It's very visual. There's PDF versions, I'm sure, online. You'll be able to get yourself a Kindle option, I'm sure, as well. So I would really recommend it. Refactoring UI is the book name.
How are you able to manually send 500 emails without ending up in the spam folder?
So that was really cool because we used a provider called Resend, who at the time didn't have that big a presence online, but I think people know them a bit more now, and they integrate much better with Lovable than they did back then. But what we'd do is we'd use Resend for the actual like back end of sending all the emails, so we didn't have to worry about that. But when it came to actually like a front end to upload a list of emails and then use Resend to ping them all, We just built that in Lovable, the front end, rather than like trying to set it up in MailChimp or use something complicated. We just knew we wanted to send 500 emails out. We didn't really care if like, you know, we could follow up with that audience or whatever. We just wanted a big punch for Product Hunt and a big punch of initial users. So it was a bit hacky, but I guess that's like the whole point, right? Like just do whatever you can to make some noise and then worry about making it like proper and perfect like later down the road, you know.
And how did you build your targeted email list?
Yeah, so there's lots of ways you can actually do this. You can buy email lists. You can also scrape for emails as well. There's lots of apps online with like databases of emails like Attio, Pipe Dream, and some other CRM software. Honestly, I had a great opportunity that my co-founder Thomas had built a product previously, and he already had like a 500 person email list. So he brought that to the table, and we used it. But I know that for him, it's the same sort of situation. Just throw up a landing page with an email sign up, make some noise on social media about your product, and see if you can get some like initial signups to get that traction that you need for Product Hunt and such.
Shipping fast is great. As a vibe coder, did you put extra effort towards your security when you were launching?
Well, very funny story here because we accidentally left one of our edge functions open, which meant that anybody could run up a huge bill on our OpenAI account. Thankfully, after we launched, we were able to get another developer who spotted it for us and was like, "Hey guys, you should probably fix that hole." So I won't say it was perfect, the launch, and we learned a lot about that. But what's really cool about Lovable now that's changed since we did that is it has the security advisor that's built into Superbases. And that if you cover all the points on that, you can 100% guarantee that your app is going to be secure when you launch. So I would just make sure that you hit that checklist and the speed test as well to make sure that everything loads and you're not exposing anything as well. And you know, I say it a lot when I'm teaching people. I say it a lot to clients. If you don't know what you're doing with Superbase, it's very good just to understand the basics so you can make sure you don't make these mistakes like we did as well. But yeah, so much has changed with Lovable now. Like I feel like if you don't see that list of security stuff, you're kidding yourself. Go do it.
What if you already have some people using your app? Should you continue to launch on Product Hunt?
Yeah, I think this is a really good insight from like Lovable's own journey. You know, like Lovable launched as an open source project, then they did a Product Hunt launch, then they did another, and I think like if you go check out Anton's Twitter and the story of how this like came to be, it was like the fourth or the third Product Hunt launch, right, Brenton? That really
Correct.
exploded everything, and it just goes to show, like you know, you can keep doing them every single time, even if you have users, just as long as you've been building something new, right? Like you have something to share that's new. It'd be pretty lame if it was the same thing every time.
Yeah, no, like Lovable iterated a few times. Everyone knows it started off as GPT engineer, and that was not a product designed for what we now see as vibe coders or no coders that are just using prompts. That was designed for developers to assist in just a small part of their function. But someone came up with the idea of why can't everyone use this? And then that's changing the product. And as you're right, it was their third or fourth launch before it actually got the traction.
Exactly. And like, you know, that's a great opportunity. Even if you launch and you don't get like the biggest fanfare or the explosion you want, you will get more people using the app and more user feedback. So it's like a great chance, Gadahin, I hope I said your name right, to get more people using your app. Why wouldn't you?
Yep. How do you get over perfectionism?
Yeah, I really struggled with this until I did Renamify, funny enough. And it was like the best lesson in execution and just like getting something out. And like considering as a website designer before, I was a perfectionist and I really, really focused on like making great UI. But I think one of the biggest lessons I've learned from like building product now over website, like fancy looking websites, is like how important it actually is to get like your product out as quickly as possible and get people using it. And even though like I'm the kind of person where I really care about the design, I was really lucky that my co-founder Thomas is like a classic American who just like wants to get a product out and doesn't care about the design. He's like, let's just get users, right? And that was a really cool lesson for me because I saw that instead of like spending 3, 4, 5 months on the look and feel of it, we built it in 2 weeks and we got it out and we got like a shit ton of fanfare, and that changed so much of what we needed to build next. So you'll be really surprised, I think, if you focus on perfecting your app, how much will change when you launch. And it's actually better to get to that like, okay, it's good enough point with just the idea of like, does my app solve the pain point? Does it do the thing? Can I take payment or get like some idea of like what they want to pay, and then like go from there, you know, like what's the base version? And even if you need to write a quick bullet point list of like, what are the 5 things this app needs to be able to like go to market, and that's it. And then cut out the bullshit and just like execute as best you can on that.
Awesome. All right. One question sort of follows up on both this one and the last one. Haven't done it yet, but I'm thinking of launching on Product Hunt. When do I decide it's the right time?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Yeah. Just do it. There is no right time, really. I think as long as like people can log into your app, they can do the thing, they can use the feature, and like there's some way for them to give feedback, I think that's enough to be able to like put it on the market and get people using it. And it's this real like, think about it as like you don't have a lot of time, right? So you need to get it out and you need to get that base version out. So it's really, again, just like doubling down on this idea of like less is more, and just really focusing on like what is the thing that your app's solving, or like what is the pain point you're trying to solve? How are you helping people? What's the base like MVP of that? And I guess that's a really good principle to like, a mindset to keep is like, what's the MVP, like minimum viable product? What is the bare minimum I could get out that would let people start like using this app?
I saw your course launch in February. Is it updated with the latest Lovable release? Give us a discount as well while I'm there.
Give us a discount. I'll give you a discount. I'll put it on Twitter afterwards. So if you go follow me, I'll post it there with a code, and you can all get.
It's going to be 80%. I'll just tell you right now.
Yeah. It's going to be 100%. There you go. Famous last words.
All right. What's the approach you take for setting up a development workflow after you've launched?
Okay. So this is a really great question. And I think a lot of people always get stuck on this. So I'll just make it really basic from how I learned it, which is that in GitHub, you have this thing called branching. If you don't know what GitHub is, go check out, learn what a branch is. In Lovable, you can create branches. I think it's under labs still at the moment with the GitHub integration. But basically, you're going to make 2 branches. You're going to make a live branch, and you're going to make a staging branch. And what you're going to do is you're going to say to your, wherever you deploy it, Lovable, etc., I'm going to use that main link as my production link. And then in terms of GitHub, that staging link, that's where you do all the work. That's where you're going to do all the work. And then once you're done, you push those updates to your production site. There's a similar workflow actually directly in Lovable, which is if you just don't push the publish button, none of your updates are going to go live. So you can also do that if you want a cleaner experience. I do both, so GitHub or Lovable's publishing tool. And mainly it's that. It's like have a staging environment where you're going to do all your development, and you can break stuff and nobody worries. And then have your production link where like you're only ever going to push your finished product there where you've tested everything and everything's working.
Perfect. All right, this one I'm not quite sure if you might understand a bit better than me. Any insight on generating a good comprehensive status report for Remix?
I have no idea what we're talking about here, so
we'll have to also have no idea.
Sorry, mostly water.
Feel free to put the comment back in chat, and I'll bring it back up if you can give some more detail there. We've got a couple of integration questions, which I'm sure you've had some fun with. Google Maps. Have you had any experience with integrating Google Maps?
There are lots of good map providers online. We actually use Mapbox, which is a little bit more comprehensive. Yeah, I'd recommend people checking it out. It's really easy to integrate, and it has a lot of cool features. If not, I've used Google Maps a lot in the past. I'm sure there's a really simple HTML snippet you can copy from the web to add it to your website. And then all you need to do is create a Google Cloud account and add your API key. It sounds like a lot of complicated steps, but I promise you, there's a 10-minute video on YouTube somewhere that covers all of the points on how to do it. And it's a lot easier to integrate than than you think, I'm sure. And if I can help in any way, give me a DM. I'll be happy to help.
I guess it's pretty general. How do you go about figuring out pricing?
My favorite question, because I think there's loads of strategies around this. One of my favorite indie hackers online is Levels.io. Peter, Peter, I think his surname is Fields. I'm not too sure. He has a really cool strategy where he actually changes the pricing every time a user comes on the website. So for one user, it might be $20. For another user, it might be $60. Another user, it might be $50. And what he'll do is just A/B test the pricing until he finds that sweet spot where he knows people are happy to pay and convert well as well. And some of the interesting insights from those like experiments he's run is actually sometimes it's not the cheap $20 option that people pick, but it's like the $60 option that they want to subscribe to because they have more confidence in the product, they feel like they're getting the value, and they want to pay $60. So it's a lot about like what are your costs. You know, if you're doing AI stuff, you're gonna have to measure that up against like what your open AI bill is, what your server bills are. But at the same time, like you should ask your users, like, what do they feel confident paying? Like, you can ask them, like, if I was to take the app away tomorrow, like, how sad would you be? And that'll give you a good indicator of like, okay, there's a lot of need, and I can charge appropriately for it. For Renamify in particular, because that may be like, you know, a good insight. We just started with like a $10 subscription just to test the water. We weren't trying to be greedy. We just wanted to see if people were using it. And then we found out that the sweet spot for us was around like the $20 mark. That's where people were willing to pay to use the tool, who were like regular users. And it also covered our costs of like those power users as well. So it was really cool to get that insight.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the person you're mentioning there. Is the indie hacker who lives in like Asia, right? I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he made the flying game from Vibe Coding. It's insane.
He's got a few big wins behind him. I've seen like
Yes.
yeah. Anyway,
the best guy for this audience to go check out on Twitter for sure, dude. For sure.
Do you have his handle? I want to share it. I've forgotten off the
I
top of my head.
will. Let me put it in
Someone.
chat. Yeah,
You message me and I'll share that. In the
Absolutely.
meantime, we do have another integration question here. Pretty similar. What is the best way to have whatever chatbot you're using integrated, have full access to the code? That's interesting.
Very interesting question. So, have whatever chatbot you're using beside Lovable's integrated, i.e., have access to the full code. I mean, the only way I can think about this, Gallium, in regards to your question, would be like using Cursor as an assistant to add extra functionality to your Lovable project. Lovable integrates directly with GitHub. So if you want to push any manual code changes via GitHub, you can do so. But you can also connect Cursor to it as well. I've also seen recently that you can copy your entire code base and paste it into Grok based on Elon Musk's recent tweets. So don't feel afraid to like copy components and paste them into ChatGPT or Claude or Grok and ask for explanations. It will help, I'm sure, with solving your problem here. 100%.
And also, there was recently functionality added in Lovable, which didn't exist previously, but you can actually search your full code base now. So you can do a Control F, find what you want to find in your code base. Only recently come in. Bit of bragging there.
Nice.
Check it out.
Yeah. The live editor is really awesome for that as well. If you want to just like go in and see your code base directly and make quick changes as well.
Are you a professional software engineer before using Lovable?
Yeah, so this is a really funny story, actually. I kind of gave up on coding at 19, 20 after being really burnt out working in an agency in London. Decided to be a website designer, and I actually used Webflow for a very long time. Still doing little bits of code here and there, but mainly like no code, clicking, dragging, dropping. Then learned about database design when I did some stuff with like Coda and like learning about like how to set up like databases for companies and stuff. And then it kind of came full circle when I was learning how to use Lovable when it was open source, so GPT Engineer. And I kind of just picked up everything I know from this, you know, the last year and a half of learning. So I can't tell you enough how good a tutor Lovable has been, as well as like a tool to build stuff with. And there's so many great people in the community and in the Discord that you can very easily ask questions about, like, you know, how do I add databases? How do I do this? And get really quick answers on what you want to do. So I would say I was knowledgeable in basic HTML, CSS, and JS, but Lovable really brought me into the future and become like a really top-notch vibe coder. So Thanks to Lovable for that, for sure.
All right. Let's say I already have an app, but the UI is kind of mid. I want to improve it. What would you do just to improve the
Yeah,
UI?
the prompt that I suggested, like you can easily say to Lovable, like apply Dieter Ram's principles to this view, and I think you'll be surprised at the result that comes out because it's usually a very clean UI because it takes those 10 principles right of like less is more, clear and directable action for the user, etc. So I would try that prompt. I would also go and check mobbing and dribble. I would try and find real world examples rather than like concepts of UI, and really like just simple things that can make your Lovable app look incredible. A consistent color scheme, consistent use of fonts, just one or two button styles, and making sure that everything is kind of cohesive across the board, so that the app looks like an entire whole experience rather than like lots of disjointed styles and disjointed experiments. So I would really double down on those two. And read Refactoring UI. We spoke about it a bit earlier in the stream, but it's a really good book to help you kind of level up your UI as a developer.
This is very, very basically similar question. What is the best prompt? I know you've given the Dieter Rams one. Are there
Yeah.
any other specific prompts?
Yeah. So Dieter Rams, who influenced Dieter Rams, who was influenced by Dieter Rams? Johnny Ive. Johnny Ive is the principal designer of, or was the principal designer of Apple for many, many years. One of the prompts I love to do if I want to get that like Apple-esque look is I say like, use Johnny Ive's design principles. You see how I just change the name of the designer, but still say use his principles, and then apply like an Apple-esque design and look to it. So really like it's going on identifying these like top-notch designers around the world. The LLMs know about them, the LLMs have context about them, and it's just directing the LLM to like follow that design style. So like that would be another one. Use Johnny Ive's design style. There's lots of other little words that you can use, like brutalism, or I want like a really airy design, so get creative and try and see if you can find designers online you like the look of that you
So
can
really,
use.
some emotional adjectives really help describe the vibe for the
Yes,
AI.
and we did a great live stream on Lovable's channel. If you go check it out with Ruta, an app we were building with Nad, who's the head at the time, head of design of Lovable. Still need to catch up with him, and he does a great video all about how to change up the design and use these designy adjectives to get closer to what you want. So I'd really recommend checking it out if you haven't watched it already.
Awesome. And we also had Felix on here not too long ago, and Felix gave some great guides. He's got some good prompt guides online. Recommend checking out Felix Haas. He's also just set up a Substack to share just this topic, so go look for that.
Epic.
What else we got? Is Lovable designed primarily as an MVP builder, or can it also support long-term product growth, be used as a main development platform? I mean, you've seen this in action, Harry.
Yeah, loads, dude, and maybe you have some insights as well. But for us, we're building like enterprise-grade software. We're Lovable, consistently iterating on it, and that's both from like a launch product perspective for founders, as well as like 700 people in an enterprise team using our app. It's all about making sure that you don't push what you're working on live as the team are like using it, right? So it's about having those cool like little development principles. But once you step into that and you understand the difference between production and staging, Lovable becomes so much more than an MVP builder or like a proof of concept builder. I still think not a lot of people have truly unlocked the power of it. And I think it's just about like using the product and really understanding it to be able to get the full power out of it and become like a master prompter. And there's been loads of streams on the YouTube channel these last few weeks, which I think will give you some great insights as to like how to really kill it with Lovable.
Awesome. One or two more questions here, guys. This came up a couple of times.
Great question.
I'm about to launch the app, my web app. Do I have to have a mobile version first, or can I launch it just with the website?
Yeah, this is like just get it out. Like you could spend another 3 months doing the mobile version, but actually find out nobody likes your idea, or you need to make like a really hard pivot. So in this case, it's like focus on the web app and getting it out, and then worry about the application later if your users are asking for it. It's about that whole thing about listening to what your users want, maybe they're okay with a web app, and maybe they don't care about like being able to access it on Android and iOS. They don't mind going to like a website. But there's some great wins that you can make if you want to make like a quick application as well. There's like an EXO converter, I think it's called, online, where you can just run your React project, what Lovable builds your project in, through a converter, and it will spit out a nice application for you. So there's lots of quick hacks to get on the app market as well. I wouldn't just say you have to focus on building an app from scratch. You can. There are lots of quick wins. Look at what we did with Namify. We didn't have an email provider, so we just built something Lovable really quickly to pump it out. Similar with you guys, like just get to market as fast as you can, get your product out, and then worry about like the big initiatives afterwards.
What do you suggest to give the right colors to Lovable? Sometimes you might provide a certain color you think it's exact and it doesn't quite come out in the same way.
Yeah, a quick prompt I like is like use a chromatic color scheme. That's like one of my favorite color schemes because it's quite neony and like all the colors match together. But you can do something as simple as prompting like just give me a really good blue color scheme with a few grays and whites and just get it to like output that. I think like a lot of mistakes that people make with color is they use way too much. If you don't know how to use color or you're not sure about it, just use black and white. That was the best advice I ever got back in the day. And don't worry about it, right? But if you do use color, just use one or two colors and just use it to like highlight stuff like buttons or like payment buttons or where to click. Like just think about like the purpose of using color rather than just I want to make my app look pretty and Apple like, etc.
Awesome. How do you build for each platform, whether it's mobile or web? Is there a particular way you go about building specifically for each one?
I think it's good to know like what your focus is from the beginning, so you can focus on building for that platform first. That way, like in the previewer, you can always have a mobile looking UI, and you can work on like that app as a mobile app. But similarly, if you're primary, like a lot of your users are going to be on desktop, like focusing on building with that first. What you can then do at the end when you're ready to launch is you can go through each page and just prompt Lovable and say, can you just optimize this really basically for desktop whilst retaining all the mobile design? Or similarly, if you're focusing on desktop, like, can you just like optimize this for mobile, but it doesn't have to be perfect? It's that whole idea of like, where's your focus to begin with? Is it like primarily mobile and you're building for mobile, or is it you're primarily focusing on desktop and you're building for desktop? And I think a lot of your decisions will come from that for sure.
Lovely comment by Boaz. This might be the best episode so far. Thank you, Harry.
Oh,
Very good.
Kings.
That's a tough bar to set. We've had some great people on this.
That's awesome. What's up? Thanks, Steve. Thank you.
All right. This is actually something
Great
I
question.
wanted to ask you myself. I noticed in one of our earlier streams, you had this really well-developed knowledge base. Can you explain a bit about the knowledge process and what you use to build that up in a project?
Yeah, I think it goes to say that a lot of like my insights come from experimentation and like what works. And I think it's just that idea of like Lovable is really great, but it could be better. And that comes from the system knowledge and the way that you prompt. And it's like, oh, the tool can only take you so far, but there are some great like little hacks that you can do to help. One of the examples that I like using a lot at the moment is building your style guide page before you build anything in your app. So you have all the colors, all the fonts, all the spacings, etc. And then adding that to your knowledge base to point Lovable and say, look, this is the style I want you to use whenever you're creating something. So we can keep that consistency moving forward. And again, it's a lot of these like little hacks in my head, right? Like I know to say Dieter Rams now because I've done it a couple of times and had that dopamine hit of it working and being like, okay, this is a good prompt to use. But like saving what works and keeping a track record of that will really help you in the future, especially if you find like a particular prompt works really well. You could add that to the system knowledge so that it just applies it automatically every time. And it's a lot of like that fun like customization, getting to like the kind of editor or AI agent that works really well for you and what you're trying to build. So I hope that helps. Style guides are incredible things to help you.
Yeah. So when you say style guide, you're saying go out there and choose which font you want, which size you want, those sorts of things.
Yeah, and get Lovable to put it all on one page so that you can visit on your website and you can like look at on a screen. and it's like your rule set of how the whole app's going to look, from like what the cards look like, what the buttons look like. You can go on great sites like 21st Dev and get components and pull them over. So you're kind of experimenting, putting this like Frankenstein monster of a style guide together. But hopefully after like 2 to 3 hours of doing that, and you have like this set design system to use, then you don't have to worry about design for the rest of the building phase, because it will just follow that style guide and keep everything consistent.
It's very interesting to start from that design mindset first.
Yeah, because like I tend to find with a lot of Lovable apps, and some of the problems that we have at work sometimes is like you might just be vibe coding and building, and Lovable has, or any agent has gone and used like a completely different button style for one page in comparison to another. And not a lot of people realize, but that really breaks your experience if like all the buttons look different across the site, because the user gets confused. There's no consistency. So it's like you're really thinking about the user by like taking that preparation, upfront to help them out.
And there's a question here which is just going on that. How do you go about creating that style guide? Do you use Claude or GPT? Is there a particular one if you did use one of those services?
I think what I do is the first prompt I write in Lovable is create me a blank white page. So I don't like ask it to create anything. Then when that page is made, I say, okay, now add all the basics of a style guide that I need here for the app, all the cards, all the accordions, form inputs, etc. It puts it all there for me. And then what I'm doing is just going through each section one by one and making little tweaks. So like I'll look at the buttons, then maybe I'll go online, look at a load of design resources, go to 21st Dev, copy some components, and I'll say, okay, replace the button in this style guide with this button. Okay, button's done. Next step, what's the font going to be? Okay, next step, what's the colors be? And do that process for like 2 to 3 hours of Lovable, or an hour, or how long you want. By the time you get to the end of that style guide, you should have, I think, a really nice cohesive like system to use. And then after that, go ahead. So like, I would say Lovable is as good as anything to use to build this out, and it will make the code and the live changes for you straight away.
Now, have you got any other recommendations besides 21st Dev? Are there anywhere else where you're getting your components from?
21st Dev, their AI Magic Builder is really good with Lovable as well. Awards, which is the largest directory of award-winning websites on the web. They have this great thing called Site of the Day, Site of the Week, and Site of the Month, and then Site of the Year. All the best design studios submit their websites there, so you can get some really cool assets. Mobbin, which is like screenshots of apps that are out there in the wild, so you can find things from like Masterclass or Netflix and use examples from there for your apps. And then finally, like good old Dribble and Behance. I feel like these days, though, they're like a bit too concepty, and you don't know if that like UI design somebody's done has been used for like a real app. And that's like something you have to try and avoid, where like somebody may have put together like a really flashy, sick looking UI, but it does not help your user like at all. So like always coming back to like what's been proven and tested. If Spotify and Netflix have really simple UIs, like aim for that, because it's obviously working for them, and it really helps them with their conversions and end users.
Awesome. When just on the knowledge base that was sticking in my mind, you've got your style guide there with all size of your text, the font, the color, buttons, so on, and you've asked it to design in Dieter Rams or whoever you choose, Johnny Ives or Felix Haas, perhaps.
Yes, Felix Haas as well. Let's go.
Is there anything else that you're throwing in there? Anything at the end of the prompt at all?
Yeah, like there's some like simple hacks to like really quickly get cool functionality. For example, like make sure that you're always using global components. So like if I've designed a button, make sure that you use that button always across the app and you're not using any individual ones. Organize all of the pages and components into folders really nicely. I think Lovable does a great job of this anyway, but there's like certain times you want to put guardrails in around certain things. Really focus on like step-by-step changes. So small changes are the best, not big changes. And like sometimes when I've done that style guide, Brenton, actually is a good point. Like I'll ask Lovable, can you output like a text file of all the rules that I've had in this style guide? And then I'll take that text file and I'll paste it into the knowledge base, so that at the very least it knows to look at the style guide and understand like what are the basic rules like Harry's using across this app. And it really helps. I'd say there's loads of fun things you can do with system knowledge, like make all my copies Star Wars. So when I show it to the client, it's using Star Wars copy, and it's a bit fun, you know. Like there's loads of fun things you can do with system knowledge for sure.
For those that are unaware or haven't used it before, go into your project settings, search for the knowledge base there. It's essentially a prompt area where you can put in rules for the app to follow.
Exactly, and it's so powerful because you suddenly go from base Lovable to base Lovable plus your customization, and it adds a lot of power to the building experience.
I've got a question here. Along with the style guide, do you also map out a user journey?
Waste of time. I think I throw out like a lot of like standard development practices when trying to get product out. I'm thinking about, can the user click a button and do the thing straight away, more so than like what's the sign up flow or the onboarding flow. I do think there are a few classic examples of like how to get people to pay that you should implement into your app. These are like basic UX flows. So like when a user creates an account, show them an onboarding flow, and then when they finish onboarding, show them like the ability to sign up, or they can carry on with a free account. And like it's just little things like that to like help people get them to pay or like give feedback and stuff like that. But I wouldn't worry too much like about making like a huge Figma and like mapping out all the different points that they're going to take and stuff. Like for me, it's more about like, can they do the thing? Can they get into the app? Can they use it? Can they give feedback? You know, like, is the product on the market? Are we getting people using it? Like, just get to market as fast as you can. Try and throw out all of the things you've learned in the standard development world, and you know, just ship it.
It's interesting. You mentioned Figma, so I've got another Figma question here. If I have a design system in Figma, how do I use it in Lovable?
Yeah, so you can put your design system together in Lovable and then bring it over. And one of the great ways to do that is like use Figma's dev mode and copy some of the code elements. But even with like screenshots and taking screenshots of your design system in Figma and feeding it bit by bit to Lovable, you can probably build out the style guide. This is like my tip always is like do it step by step and bit by bit. So don't try and just take a screenshot of the entire design system and expect Lovable to like get that. It's probably not going to. It's better to just take the little slivers, like take the buttons, export that to Lovable, take the fonts, export that to Lovable, and just go step by step until you see on your screen inside Lovable, it's pretty much like one for one with, you know, your Figma design. Brenton said it as well, like you can use the live code editor and GitHub and whatever, and the search feature as well to make those like little tiny edits maybe you need to make like on the live version as well. So I hope that helps. Dev mode is expensive, so you know you may have to pay, but I think it's really worth it sometimes when you want to do these cross-platform actions.
Last two questions. I said that like 10 minutes ago, but we've had 300 or 400 people join in the last
So
10 minutes.
So many good questions.
This is one you sort of touched on earlier. I think it's really great to talk about. Are you a team? Are you solo? How did you start, and where are you now?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I can break the third wall here. Guys, do you want to say hello to the Lovable live stream? Do you wave? Say hello, 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 hello. Yeah, hello, hello. So, and I'll just pop this.
Amazing.
So, I started by myself at the beginning of the year, and now we're a team of 12. I have this awesome team who support me every day. We're both in Boston, the United States, and Argentina. I've never had such growth in my life, and like scaling and like all those problems that come with it. It's been a really awesome experience, and it wasn't possible without like just diving fully into Lovable and believing in the technology when it first came out. So I was a solo agency. You can see it on YouTube if you want to check out my videos. But through Lovable and Vibe Coding, I've had this awesome opportunity to grow, and I'm forever grateful. And we've only done it in like 3 months, so it's possible for everyone, I think, to see this kind of growth.
That's huge. That's absolutely amazing. I love to hear your story every time I hear it, Harry. Thanks for being part of the community here.
It's awesome. I love it. I love it.
Last question, I believe, was actually for me. Also on very similar story, sharing some stats. I will share some more stats more publicly, I guess, once the program concludes. But just, I did a quick review over the past week, just today, to see. I checked your updates. We always read your updates, everyone. So keep putting in great content there. Give each other good feedback. We pay attention to all of it. But just some things that stood out from the past week. Someone's just got funded 85K pre-seed for their idea. It's fantastic.
Let's go.
Let's go. Someone else got a grant, like a $5,000 or €5,000 grant from a government organization. So let's go again. Fantastic.
Let's go. Come on, let's go, guys.
I'm just reading now. We've got 4 more. What have we got? 5 people launched their product last week. So in the past week, generated over 1,000 income. 2 of them generated over 5,000 of income. And we have over 20 different participants that have increased their user base by at least 100 people in the past week.
Let's go.
That's huge. Someone's got 250 paying customers, or more than 250 paying customers. That's just fantastic. Week to week growth is amazing across ships. You're all doing a great job. You're all going to be the next Harry. Commit to it. Dive in. I think it's probably all I can give you right now for the moment, Eve, but I will give a full program overview once we're all done.
Get it out there. Catch up, guys. There's some great people doing great stuff, and you guys can too. Just get out there. Get out there.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming. Harry, thanks for being a legend. Always good to have your presence.
It was awesome, Brendan. Good luck, everyone. I'm really excited to see all your apps. You've all got it. So kill it. Have fun.